The cultural moment that is Zack Snyder's Justice League arrived yesterday, so I sat down with some friends and we watched it, and I didn't really like it. I didn't hate it or anything, but we'll get to that in a sec. First, I do want to acknowledge something. Snyder very much has a ride or die fan base of people that absolutely adore his filmmaking and defend every choice he's ever made. If that's you, that's totally fine. But you should know up front that this review probably won't be your cup of tea. So if you don't know, Snyder directed the original DCEU movies. Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman are both his. Justice League was supposed to be the culmination of his vision. Unfortunately, halfway through production of the film, he had to step away for personal reasons, and Joss Whedon was brought in to finish the film. Between having two directors that couldn't be more different and the studio doing the final edit, the original was a mess. Fans pretty quickly began discussing the potential version Snyder intended and fantasized about how good it could have been. Well, we no longer have to fantasize. We have it, and does it live up to all the years of hype? Not really. Justice League isn't ever really offensively bad, except for a few soundtrack choices and Barry Allen's dialogue, but most of the movie is never exceedingly good either. Every scene goes on for 5 minutes too long, and at some point you really understand why this is 4 hours, and no, it is not the material necessitating it. This may be the most overindulgent thing I've ever seen. It would be doable to take the first 150-odd minutes and turn it into a 5-minute prologue or a 2-minute title crawl. Now, this leisurely approach to a story unfolding isn't necessarily a bad thing, but in that case, you need characters so engaging that you want to spend unnecessary hours with them, and I certainly did not find that here. Luckily, the payoff isn't the worst. After getting so far into the movie that I actively processed how many better movies I could have watched in that time, the finale begins and it's mostly pretty fun. One of my co-watchers, otherwise known as my roommate, was so exhausted by that point in the film that his opinion was beyond saving, but I genuinely enjoyed the big finale. I should take this moment to say that though I saw the original, it's barely worth me even attempting to compare the two. I have a note from a different review where it came up and I said it was, quote, completely forgettable and only worth seeing if you were a huge DC fan, and gave it a 3 out of 10. That does mean I like this cut more than the original, but pointing to specific scenes or moments that are improved is just something I cannot do. The one thing I'm confident saying is that Steppenwolf is better this time. I can't even remember why, but I found him to be the least engaging thing about the original movie, and now I thought he was mostly alright. So, the changes made must have helped his character. Although there is one moment that if it hasn't been memed to all oblivion yet, it should be. I'll play it right now. It's beautiful. We had to pause from laughing so hard at the delivery of that, yes. Besides the runtime, the other immediately noticeable thing is the aspect ratio, and from the initial trailer, it looked like a mistake, but I'm happy to say that most of the movie looks genuinely good in 4:3. Snyder makes solid use of framing to deliver a unique-looking blockbuster, certainly. There are a few moments that absolutely don't look right, and I think they come from shots finished for the original release that they couldn't afford to start the CG over on, but most of the film genuinely looks like it has thought put into the filming of every moment, which was great to see. Alright, let's talk about that soundtrack, though. People are celebrating it, and I cannot fathom why. This bit... Hope you liked it, because you'll hear it again, and again, and again, and again. And every time Wonder Woman does anything, that riff plays to the point that it is not uncommon that track starts multiple times within a single scene. One scene has that track start from the top 4 times. It is insane that not only was this deemed a good idea, but that I'm not seeing more people talk about it when it was so gratuitous in my viewing. The last main thing we have to talk about is the epilogue of the movie. Not really going to get into spoilers, don't get too worried, but if you want a blind viewing, I guess, click away. I get it. We're restoring this film to its original vision, and originally Snyder had plans for more movies, but man, it sure is strange to watch sequel bait for movies that presumably will never release. Maybe so many people will watch the Snyder Cut that DC will give Snyder full control over a timeline, but in all likelihood, the many ending scenes are there to tease something that'll never come to be, which hypothetically might not have felt so awful, except that I was already 200 minutes into this behemoth, and then watching what were essentially fake trailers. It was so tiring, and that really is what this film is. Tiring. It is so long for no good reason. I was tempted to write the longest, most repetitive run-on sentence as a review because that really would represent the film best. Yes, this film is one man's vision, and yes, it is genuinely that and mature, but that does not mean the vision is flawless. The audience celebrating this film genuinely confuses me. Maybe I've just not had enough faith in general audiences, but yeah, if they had the patience for this, check out stuff like Barry Lyndon, Andrei Rublev, which are equally long and meandering, but actually interesting, and have these huge themes and fascinating characters, and are just better. I don't know. I'm jumping around, but I should note the performances, which are mostly fine. Well, Ezra Miller's Flash is a dumpster fire, but I'm not sure what percentage is his fault and what goes to Snyder's vision for the character. Miller definitely can act. I loved him in We Need to Talk About Kevin, which still is an underappreciated movie. Otherwise, though, there's a lot of talent in this cast just not doing much. Ben Affleck and Jason Momoa are particularly pretty great actors trying their best to elevate the material, sometimes to some success. S-tier actors like Willem Dafoe and J.K. Simmons show up sporadically and don't get to do much. With the runtime already as long as it was, they should have just doubled down and given both of them monologues. I'm joking, obviously, but I need to continually drive home the point that this is as long as it is and does not have fleshed out, engaging characters. I could keep going, but you get the idea. It's better than it used to be, and it's possibly worth seeing just for the cultural moment. I'm glad the director's vision prevailed, even if I do think his vision is quite flawed. See this if you're morbidly curious like I was, or if you're just a huge Zack Snyder fan, but otherwise stay away. It's not awful, but it's certainly not worth your time. 4 out of 10. Anyway, what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. And I will hopefully see you next Friday with another video. My Fridays have been bleeding into Saturdays, but I'm trying to get them out every time. Anyway, peace.